For years, the One Piece community has been obsessed with one question. Who is the man marked by flames? We've heard every theory out there, from Jaguar D. Saul to some forgotten member of the Rocks Pirates. But what if I told you the answer has been staring us in the face this whole time? What if the man everyone is looking for isn't a man at all? Get ready, because we're about to break down how a single overlooked clue, Law's insane reaction to a name, suggests that a survivor of Flevance, his own sister, holds the key to the entire story. This isn't just another theory. If this is true, the journey to Laugh Tale isn't just about finding a treasure. It's about healing a wound carried by the last two survivors of a doomed nation. The final saga of One Piece is here, and the race for the last Road Poneglyph is the only thing that matters right now. This last piece of the puzzle is the gatekeeper to Laugh Tale and the One Piece itself. And guarding that key is a person who is a complete mystery, someone known only as Man Marked by Flames. And before we go any further, there's something huge most people completely miss. The English version, Man Marked by Flames, is probably wrong. The original Japanese word is Hinokizu, and that doesn't refer to a man at all. Japanese doesn't even specify gender here. Hinokizu simply means burn scar, fire scar. So from the very beginning, the entire community might be looking for the wrong person, because this was never confirmed to be a man in the first place. We're looking for someone whose entire identity is tied to fire, trauma, and survival. This person supposedly travels on an all-black ship and can create giant whirlpools to sink anyone who gets too close. Every powerhouse, from the Straw Hats to the Blackbeard Pirates, is desperately searching for them. The theories have been crazy. Is it the giant Jaguar D. Saul burned by the fires of Ohara? Is it Monkey D. Dragon, whose face tattoo could be a stylized scar? Or maybe it's a former Roger pirate, protecting his captain's legacy. We've been so focused on the usual suspects, on these legends, that we've missed the clues pointing to something way more tragic. An answer that isn't about epic battles, but about the ashes of a fallen city. An answer that lies with Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. Okay, before we get to the crazy theory from my guy Mr. Bushido, thanks to him, let's lay out what we actually know for a fact. Building a solid foundation is key. The man marked by flames first appeared as a whisper after the fall of two emperors in Wano. In chapter 1056, Eustace Kid is the first one to say the name, revealing that this mystery person holds the final key. The details are few, but they are super specific. First, Hinokizu is believed to have the fourth and final Road Poneglyph. This is the same poneglyph that was last seen on Fishman Island decades ago before it just vanished. How does something that massive get moved from the bottom of the ocean? The logistics alone suggests someone with insane resources or straight up giant level strength, which is why the Jaguar D. Saul theory is so popular. Second, we have a description of how Hinokizu moves. The Blackbeard Pirates, specifically Lafitte, say this person travels on a completely black ship. This ship is also protected by giant whirlpools that swallow any other vessel that gets near. Lafitte guesses it might be a devil fruit power controlling the sea itself. This makes the character seem untouchable. Third, there's the in-world speculation. Shiryu of the Rain, a guy who knows the world government's shady business, drops a chilling idea. What if Hinokizu works for the government? What better way to stop pirates from reaching Laugh Tale than to have a government agent hold the final nap piece forever? And finally, the name itself. Hinokizu, a scar from fire. This is the most powerful clue. It screams survival and trauma. The fandom's first thought was the Ohara incident, an island burned down by a buster call. Vegapunk confirmed Saul survived and was burned, so it all seems to fit. It's a clean answer. But this is One Piece. The most obvious answer is almost never the whole story. Oda plants seeds that take hundreds of chapters to grow, and while Saul fits, there's another tragedy defined by fire and despair. A tragedy that gave us one of the most complex characters in the story. A tragedy that we all thought had only one survivor. We're talking about the white city of Flevance, and this is where things get interesting. Now we get to the theory. We're proposing a new candidate for Hinokizu, a candidate nobody sees coming, but one that fits with heartbreaking precision. Here's the core of the theory. The person known as Hinokizu's not a man, she is a woman. She is a survivor of the Flevance tragedy, and she is Trafalgar D. Waterlaw's younger sister, Lami. Let that sink in. Lami, the sweet, innocent girl we all watched die. The girl whose amber lead syndrome covered her body in white patches. The last time Law saw her, she was in a hospital that was being burned to the ground. We, and Law, thought she was dead. But every One Piece fan knows Oda's #1 rule. Unless you see a body, you can't be sure they're dead. And we never saw Lami's body. I believe Lami survived. That she was pulled from that fire not by a hero, but by the same organization that destroyed her country, the world government. The burn scar that defines Hinokizu isn't from a battle or the Ohara Buster Call, it's from the fire that destroyed her home in Flevance. But why would the world government save her? To create a weapon. Flevance was wiped out because the world government hid the truth about the toxic amber lead to protect their profits. They lied, saying the disease was contagious to justify wiping out the whole population. But what if they saw a chance in the chaos? They could grab a living child in the final stages of the disease and hand her over to someone like Saturn, a scientist working directly for the world government, someone we know experimented on people and created diseases. That would actually fit perfectly with what we've already seen him do with Ginny and Bonnie. They could have cured her, but at the cost of her freedom and her entire identity. They took her, erased who she was, and turned her into a weapon. And now, she's the one protecting the final Road Poneglyph. The all-black ship could be a prototype from the SSG, which means Special Science Group, and the whirlpools could be advanced tech, or a devil fruit they gave her to make her the perfect guardian. And realistically, she wouldn't be alone. One person can't operate a ship like that, so there are probably others on board, either agents, guards, or people watching her. Which makes this even darker, because it means she's not just guarding the Poneglyph, she's being watched while doing it. She is Shiryu's government man, but not a willing agent. She was kept as a prisoner, her life a product of the same evil that destroyed her brother. And this could even mirror what we've seen with Gunko, a person turned into a controlled weapon, their identity stripped away. Lami could be in a very similar situation, possibly even physically changed, maybe even covered in bandages, hiding the scars from the fire and whatever experiments were done to her. This theory changes the Hinokizu mystery from a search for a man into the tragic story of a lost sister and a broken family. The single biggest piece of evidence for this is not in some huge reveal, it's in one man's silence. Let's go back to chapter 1056, the exact moment Hinokizu is first mentioned. Kid says he's going after the man marked by flames. The other pirates are intrigued, but Oda focuses on Trafalgar Law. In a single dark panel, we see Law's reaction. He says nothing. His face, usually cool and calculating, is completely unreadable. He turns his head away, his expression shadowed and grim. It's a quiet moment, but in One Piece, these are the moments that scream the loudest. Robin, who is always watching, notices his strange reaction. She knows something is deeply wrong. So why would Law react like that? If Hinokizu was Jaguar D. Saul, why would Law care so personally? He has no known connection to Saul. His reaction isn't strategic, it feels personal. It's the face of a man hearing a ghost story he knows is real. Now think about that reaction with our theory, the man marked by flames. Imagine you are Law. You are the only survivor of the Flevance genocide. Your entire world burned. You saw your parents die, and your sister trapped in a hospital that was set on fire. That fire is the symbol of all your trauma. You've carried that pain for years, believing you're alone. Then, decades later, you hear a rumor about a mystery person holding the key to the One Piece, and their defining feature? They are marked by flames. For anyone else, it's a weird detail. For Law, it would be a lightning bolt to the heart. It's a direct link to the most traumatic event of his life, The flames aren't just any flames, they are his flames, the flames of Flevance. His silence isn't confusion. It's the horrifying possibility that someone else might have survived that fire. The name Hinokizu wouldn't just be a clue to a poneglyph, it would be a ghost from his past. And the most terrifying, hopeful thought would hit him. Lami, the sister he left in that burning building. That one silent panel is Oda telling us that the mystery of Hinokizu is personally connected to Trafalgar Law. It's not just another stop on the journey for him. This is everything. To really get the weight of this theory, we have to go back to the tragedy of Flevance, the White City. It wasn't just a fallen country, it was a civilization erased by greed. For 100 years, Flevance built its wealth on a beautiful white ore, amber lead, but it was a deadly poison. The world government and the royal family knew for generations that the ore was toxic, slowly killing the population. They hid the truth for profit. By the time the symptoms, white patches on the skin and terrible pain, were undeniable, it was too late. The world government, fearing their secret would get out, lied and said the disease was contagious. The kingdom was quarantined and then purged. Hospitals were burned to the ground. It was genocide. And there's one more detail that makes this even stranger, because there is a character in One Piece called Avalo Pizarro, known as the Corrupt King. And that already raises a big question, because what if he wasn't just any king, but the king of a country like Flevance, a nation that became very rich and powerful on its own, which could explain that he maybe refused to pay tribute to the world government and instead kept all the money for himself while acting like he didn't need them. And in a world like One Piece, that is exactly the kind of thing that can get a country completely erased. Not just punished, but wiped out. And what makes this even more interesting is his design, because he wears a coat made from a sea lion, with spotted patterns that look very similar to Law's hat, which might be a coincidence, but knowing Oda, it could also be a small hint that these stories are connected. Now, put Lami back in that fire. We last see her in the hospital, in the final stages of the disease. Law only escaped by hiding among corpses, something a sick little girl couldn't do. But that hospital was full of the sickest patients, the most advanced cases. It's totally possible that a Cypher Pole unit overseeing the cleansing was ordered to grab a live test subject for Vegapunk or another scientist. A child would be the perfect candidate. Lami could have been pulled from the fire, not out of mercy, but for cold, scientific research. This is where the flame scar gets a double meaning. Lami would have been physically burned in the hospital fire, giving her a literal Hinokizu, but she is also metaphorically marked by the Flevance tragedy itself. What if the cure the world government gave her for the amber lead had its own side effects? What if the treatment involved extreme heat that saved her life, but left her permanently scarred? This makes her the perfect weapon for the world government. They could have raised her in isolation, feeding her lies. Maybe they told her pirates destroyed Flevance, twisting her grief into a rage that would make her the perfect guardian against anyone finding their One Piece. Her past, her name, her family, all gone, replaced with one job: guard the Poneglyph. This turns the story of Hinokizu from a mysterious man into the tragic tale of a child forged into a key and locked away at sea. Lami being Hinokizu would be more than a shock. It would be the perfect payoff for Trafalgar Law's entire journey. Law's life is all about loss and revenge. He became the surgeon of death, a doctor who destroys instead of heals. His failure to save his family, especially his sister, is his deepest wound. He was a medical genius who was powerless to stop the Amber Lead syndrome. But his alliance with Luffy has slowly been changing him, reminding him of his desire to protect people. Now, imagine the ultimate test for his character. He finds out the final key to overthrowing the corrupt world government is held by the one person he couldn't save: his sister. Suddenly, the race for the One Piece is his personal mission for redemption. He has to confront the ghost of his past, not as a memory, but as a real person. This creates an incredible conflict. Lami, as a world government agent, would see him as the enemy. He, the doctor, would have to find a way to cure her, not of a disease, but of the psychological poison the world government fed her. His ultimate operation wouldn't use a scalpel, but truth and love. And don't forget, Law's full name is Trafalgar D. Waterlaw. That means his sister Lami is also a Trafalgar D. The will of D is about defying fate. What could be a bigger defiance than surviving a genocide the gods of the world planned? The world government tried to wipe out a D bloodline, only to accidentally turn one into a key player in the final war. It's the exact kind of irony Oda loves. Lami holding the final poneglyph would be a symbolic act of healing the world. Law's journey as a doctor would finally come full circle. The boy who couldn't cure his sister's disease will become the man who cures her soul, and in doing so, helps cure the sickness of the entire world. To really make the case for Lami, we have to look at the other popular theories and see why they just don't hit the same. First up, Jaguar D. Saul. The evidence seems solid. He's a giant who could move a poneglyph, and he was burned at Ohara. It's a logical fit. But it has no personal connection to the main characters of the final saga. Law's super personal reaction to the name Hinokizu makes zero sense with this theory. Then there's Monkey D. Dragon. He has a black ship, storm powers that could be mistaken for whirlpools, and a facial tattoo that could be a scar. The problem? If Dragon had the poneglyph, why wouldn't he just tell Robin, his trusted comrade who can actually read it? Hiding it from his own army is just pointlessly complicated. Finally, you have guys like former Roger pirates. The idea of Roger's old crewmate testing the next generation is cool, but again, it completely fails to explain Law's dark reaction. He has no known connection to the Roger pirates that would cause that kind of response. All of these theories give a possible who, but they don't give a good why. Why does it have to be them? The Lami theory, however, explains everything. It explains the black ship, the whirlpools, and the burn scar. But most importantly, it gives us a powerful why. It ties the final poneglyph directly to the tragic past of Trafalgar Law, weaving his personal story into the finale of the entire series. It turns a treasure hunt into a mission of family redemption. The other theories are fine, but the story of Lami, the Ghost of Flevance, isn't just a theory. It's more than that. The identity of Hinokizu is the last huge mystery before the One Piece. We've been looking for a powerful man, a legend from history, but the answer might have been in a hero's tragic backstory all along. The truth isn't a legend, it's a tragedy. Hinokizu isn't a man, but a ghost. The ghost of Flevance. The ghost of a sister we thought was lost to fire. Trafalgar Lami, marked by the flames that destroyed her home and molded into a tool by the government that orphaned her, is now the guardian of the world's final secret. This changes everything. It redefines the entire story for Trafalgar Law, turning his quest into a desperate mission to save his family and heal his past. It proves the central theme of One Piece. True strength is in the bonds we have and our will to fight for them. The final key isn't a rock, it's a person, and unlocking the path to Laugh Tale will take more than a battle. It will take a rescue. But hey, that's just a theory. What do you think? Could Lami actually be the one marked by flames? Or do you think it's Saul, Dragon, or someone we haven't even thought of? Drop your complete theories in the comments below. This is one of the biggest mysteries Oda has ever given us, and talking about it is half the fun. If you liked this deep dive, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell for more breakdowns as we sail into the final saga. Thanks for watching.